What's going on, you guys? This is Antoine, aka the Bigfella, bringing you another video. I wanted to go ahead and start a series of videos on getting people into fishing. I know I've actually had some subscribers ask me how to go about getting into fishing, and I've actually had a couple buddies myself that I've actually gotten into fishing for the first time ever. And they absolutely fell in love with it, just like I fell in love with it, and I'm hoping to get you guys to fall in love with it as well. Now, I do want to start off in saying fishing can be expensive. Like, if you look at some of the gear, you see $200 bait casting reels and $150 spinning reels and stuff like that. I do want to tell you that you don't need that stuff unless you can't afford it. Me, I can't. I got 3 kids, rent, all kind of bills out here. So, you know, I fish with some of the low to mid-grade kind of stuff. So I want to show you guys what you can get to get started off with, and not break the bank and trying to get into this game we call fishing. Now, if you've never picked up a fishing rod, there are a couple things I want you guys to look out for when you're shopping, is knowing the difference between a spinning rod and a casting rod. If you're just starting out, never picked up a fishing rod before, I recommend a spinning rod, which a whole combo set is going to look something like this. You'll be able to see the line. It has the handle, this little bail right here that you can flip open and close. This is probably going to be the easiest piece of equipment that you can use to get into fishing. I think so anyway. I try to avoid what they call those little spin cast rods with the little push button. I've had bad luck with those, and they always get messed up somehow and end up being not usable. So I definitely recommend starting off getting a spinning rod. Now, this particular rod, this Shimano Aeroglass, I got from Walmart, and I think this whole combo was 30 bucks. It didn't come with the line on here, however, but you can pick up a combo just like this one, 30 bucks. Shimano is actually a pretty good brand. I don't want to get too particular in the different brands because, you know, people have their preferences and stuff like that, but, you know, I picked this up for crappie fishing, and I absolutely love this thing, called plenty of crappie on it. The way you can tell it's a spinning rod, if it doesn't say on there, it'll actually have a description on the rod. I don't know if you can see right there. It'll say spinning rod on there somewhere. Let me see if this one does. This one does not, but you know, sometimes in Walmart, for instance, they have the rods kind of high up, and you don't want to have to keep pulling them down to see if it's a spinning rod. The way you can tell if it's a spinning rod or not is, if I don't break my bait caster, is the spinning rod. If you look at the back of it, there is no little finger groove, kind of like this casting rod right here. If you see this on the back of a rod, it's a casting rod. If you don't, it's a spinning rod. Now, there's a few reasons why I recommend getting a spinning rod to start off with. A, they're just easier to cast than trying to use those spin caster or push button rods. And I think the bait caster is a little more advanced than the spinning rod. I mean, nowadays the bait casters are a little bit easier to throw than compared to the older ones, but still think you should try out a spinning rod first just to see if you even like fishing. They're cheaper to buy. Like this combo right here, for instance, was only 30 bucks. I actually happened to be walking through Walmart one day and found this combo right here was 25. I don't know if you can tell the difference or not, but you can see how thick this one is compared to this one, which is something I wanted to get into as well after I go over why you should get a spinning rod in the first place. But also, these spinning rods help cast lighter lures. This little yellow thing I have right here, a little inline spinner, only weighs 1/16 of an ounce. This rod is still capable of casting that pretty far, and this rod can even cast something as small as a 1/32 ounce lure as well. So that's another reason I recommend getting a spinning rod to start off with. Also, the spinning rods, you can actually find these pretty short. This rod right here, for instance, the entire length of it is 5.5 feet. I think the shortest bait casting rod or spinning rod I've seen is 6 foot for the bait casters. Then like the little push buttons, because they make them for kids, like the little Barbie poles, they're even shorter than that, like maybe 3 feet. But I don't recommend those for those that are trying to get into fishing, because sometimes those things can get a little frustrating. You got to take that little top off and untangle line and stuff. You can see all your tangles and stuff if you get any just right here in this little spool. It's wide open and you can see everything. And then last but not least, the reason I think you should get a spinning rod is they're easier to maintain. Doesn't require a whole lot of TLC. You know, just keep it clean, and if you want to oil it up, I just recommend oiling this part up right here, because this thing goes up and down as you're reeling. Here, I'll show you. Let me just take the lure off of here. Let some slack out of it. As you're reeling, that thing just goes up and down. So you want to keep that lubed, and you can even take this little screw off that holds the handle on. You can take that off and drop a couple drops of oil down in there as well. Oh, and then bonus, if you didn't know it or not, you can take these spinning reels if you don't know if you're going to be fishing right-handed or left-handed, because there are some right-handed people that like to retrieve their rod on the left hand. This little screw right here actually comes out, and you can take the handle and switch it to the other side, which is pretty neat. Comes out just like that, and you can pop it on the other side and screw the little cap in on the other side, and boom, you got a left-handed fishing rod or a right-handed fish rod, depending on how you pick it up from the store. But those are the reasons why I think you should get a spinning rod. Also, I wanted to get into, like I was saying earlier, the different, that orange rod that I showed you guys was a little bit thicker. That's because that's a medium heavy rod. Now when I say medium heavy rod, obviously that rod's thicker, so you're going to be able to do a lot more different kind of fishing with it. You'll be able to cast it in the grass and lily pads and stuff like that without the rod breaking if you get snagged. This right here is a medium, I'm sorry, this is an ultralight rod, and the way you can tell, like if you're shopping at Walmart, for instance, you see all the rods up there on the little top shelf there. You can just look at it by the thickness of the rod, but if you really want to look at the specs of it, all fishing rods have specs on it right there. Let me see if I can get you guys some better light here. All the specs are spelled out right there on the rod. It tells you the rod length, the size of the lures that you can throw on this kind of rod, and then the type of action. Right here, if you see, it says power ultralight action fast. Fast action means that the rod tip is ultra flexible. It's going to help you cast those lighter lures out there further, and it's also going to give you a little more forgiveness with fish. I want to go ahead and show you guys how to cast these things. It's fairly simple. If you can do this and you can actually do this kind of at the same time, you should be able to cast one of these bad boys. So let's go ahead and get into how to cast these. Alright, you guys, I'm going to show you how to cast with my ultralight here. Like I was showing you guys earlier, this is just a little inline spinner. It's all tangled up right now, which is a-okay since we're just practicing the cast. To start out, you want to start with your lure being 6 to 8 inches from your rod tip, like so. Next tip I want to show you guys is you want your line on your reel to be as close to the rod as possible. Sometimes you'll reel it and it'll be that far apart, and you see how big the gap is. The reason why I recommend having it close to the line is because when you go to cast, you're using your index finger to pinch that line up against the rod just like this, and then when you're ready to cast, you're just going to be giving a good fling and releasing that finger to get the line to release and let your lure go flying onto the water. So step one, pinch that line. You're going to flip that bell open when you're ready to cast, and when you see a good spot that you want to cast, just give that rod a good fling. Make sure you release your index finger to let that lure fly out just like that. All it's doing is just allowing the line to unspool off the line through the guides and your lure to go out there in the water. I'll show it to you guys in real time, like when I'm fishing and I'm just going. It's almost like second nature now, just to let that line lure get 6 to 8 inches from the top, pinch, flip, throw. See, I almost hit that white car out there with this lure. That's probably a good 40 feet away. Finger, pinch, flip, throw. Simple as that. When you get to Walmart or Bass Pro Shop or Gander Outdoors or wherever you're going to go pick up your first rod and reel, you're going to notice a couple things. One of the first things is going to be the reel sizes. For instance, this one up top is considered a 1,000 size reel. This one is a 2,000. The smaller ones are, you know, good for like panfish, crappie, bluegill. The 2000s is something I consider to be great for bluegill and crappie and bass, because I've actually caught bass and stuff on this and had no problems with it whatsoever. But sitting here looking at the 2000, you may actually even see one that's like a 4 or a 5. And look at the size difference compared to those. This is what I use for like catfish and stuff like that. I would definitely, like I said, I would recommend the size 2000 if you're going to be doing crappie and bass fishing. If you're going to try to use one rod for both, I would definitely go ahead and recommend that. One of the other things that you're going to notice is if you look closely on this rod here, right there under the spool, you see something that says 5.4, then there's a colon and a 1. That is the gear ratio. All that's saying is how fast this reel is going to be bringing in the line as you're reeling. So when it says 5.4 to 1, for instance, if you're starting down here, you crank it one full turn from like 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock. This spool is going to spin 5.4 times, and that's telling you how fast it's going to bring the line in. For instance, this one is a, what is the gear ratio on this? You know, I think I actually looked at the gear ratio on this one once before, and I could never find it. Yeah, I don't see it right off the bat, but this the one I use for catfishing is a, I want to say it's like a 3 to 1. Don't see it on here either. Well, that just blew my example out of the water, but I know for a fact that the gear ratio on this is a lot slower than one of these. The lower gear ratios seem to have more torque, if you will. So if I got me a nice size catfish on that rod here, I have more torque as I'm cranking, and that's helping me bring that fish in. And these are kind of like your speed rods, if you will. But those are the couple things that you are going to notice when you go to find a spinning rod to get into fishing. Just wanted to go ahead and throw that out there. Alright, y'all, so let's recap, because I know you guys are excited about going out and getting your first rod. Warmer weather is right around the corner, and it's going to be some prime time for fishing with the fish coming up to feed, shallow, and spawn and stuff like that. I do recommend you guys getting a spinning rod because, A, they're easier to cast. You saw how easy it was for me to cast that lure 30, 40, 50 feet just by a flick of the wrist and releasing my finger so that line can unspool off the reel and take your lure out there in the water or where the fish and stuff are. Also, they are able to cast lighter lures. That lure I was casting with earlier was a 1/16 ounce, and that rod is capable of casting a 1/32 ounce lure. So I recommend definitely getting a spinning rod just for that. You can get what length you're comfortable with. That was a 5'6" rod. They make them as short as like 5, maybe even 4.5 feet. I recommend the short rods like that, because if you're standing on the bank fishing because you don't have a boat or a kayak, you're standing on a tree, for instance, you don't want to like go to overhand casting, your rod get caught up in the tree or in some brush and stuff right next to you. I do recommend, however, getting a medium powered rod. You can find some medium powered fast action tips to help you get that lure out there a little bit further. The reason why I say that is because you get a medium heavy, you're kind of stuck with this big bulky rod, and sometimes it can affect the way the lure works in the water and stuff like that. But a medium powered rod, if you're fishing around lily pads, should be able to get you out of the lily pads so you get hung up just fine without it breaking. And you can still catch like bass and crappie because you'll have enough stiffness in the rod. Although I have caught a bass on that ultralight, and it was a pretty fun fight. Also, the spinning rods are a little easier to maintain. Just a couple drops of oil here and there, keep them clean, you're good to go. But other than that, I think that's all I got for you guys. So if you guys like this video and you want to follow me for more tips, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you'll be notified every time I upload a video. If you have any questions at all, definitely leave them down there in the comment section below, or you can hit me on my social media accounts, which is right here at the bottom of the screen as well. All the alerts usually come to my phone, so I try to answer them as quick as I can. If you have any recommendations on something you want to see in a video, just hit me up as well. I'll be more than happy to make a quick video for you. But also, make sure you're subscribed and got post notifications on as well, because I do giveaways every single month. I give away mystery tackle boxes and monster bass boxes every single month, so you can actually enter for a chance to win some free fishing stuff and some stuff to try out at my expense. But that's all I got for you guys. If you're about to go out and get yourself a rod now, definitely welcome to the fishing world. It's going to be pretty frustrating sometimes, but it's definitely a bad day of fishing is better than a good day at work, in my opinion, as they say. But that's all I got for you guys. I want to thank you very much for watching this episode of Bigfella Outdoors. Be sure to tune into the next episode. You can catch me outside doing what I love most, getting my dose of the great outdoors. Be sure to get y'all's too.